In case you missed the breaking news on this Tuesday, LIV Golf will not receive official World Golf Ranking points as OWGR has turned down the organization's formal request. The OWGR sent a letter to LIV today, which said, in part, the board committee met recently to again review your OWGR submission in light of your latest responses to the committee's questions and concerns. At the meeting, the board committee unanimously determined that at this time, the LIV Tour will not be recognized as an eligible golf tour in the OWGR system. This quote to the Global Golf Post from the OWGR chairman, Peter Dawson. This is entirely technical. OWGR has no hostility toward LIV whatsoever. The important point is this is not about the players. LIV players are self-evidently good enough to be ranked. There's no doubt about that. This is about should a tour whose formats are so different and whose qualification criteria are so different, can they be ranked equitably with other tours who conform to the OWGR norm and have more competition to them than perhaps the closed shop that is LIV? For more, we welcome in GolfChannel.com senior writer Rex Hoggard. Rex, what's your reaction to this news?
Damon, I look at this two ways. First, in the micro, I don't think this was any big surprise. The concerns that were voiced in this letter today go back a year and a half ago when LIV Golf first applied for World Golf Ranking points and the concerns that they had about format. Limited fields with only 48 players, 54 holes. The team aspect of it made, obviously, the board uncomfortable, and probably more so than anything you just mentioned, the closed shop concept. As of right now, according to Ron Green Jr.'s story on Global Golf Post, there's going to be 14 players who are guaranteed contracts next year on LIV Golf, regardless of how they perform on the golf course. I think that's always going to be a sticking point for the world ranking when you look at what their current regulations are. The other half of it is it's in the macro. And I think this is a bit of a surprise. I had one official during the Ryder Cup kind of explain to me that the ongoing negotiations for any type of definitive agreement between the PIF and the PGA Tour and the DP World Tour, if you look at it like an iceberg, what you can see above the water is only about 10% of what's going on. Right now, I think this letter is an indication of what's going on. You get an idea of where the current ecosystem is. I think last week, when the governor of the PIF played in the Dunhill alongside Peter Dawson for the World Golf Ranking, along with Martin Slumbers from the RNA, I think that's an indication. There's a lot of moving parts all below the water, and I think we're just now starting to see some of them.
Rex, the LIV guys have gathered this week in Jeddah in Saudi Arabia for their penultimate event of the season. Are you hearing any responses from the players who are out there yet?
I was texting back and forth with one LIV player, and there was no big surprise from him. He actually said the ship had really sailed in a lot of LIV players' minds when it comes to the World Golf Ranking. If you go back to the idea that those points that the players carried over with them from the PGA Tour and the DP World Tour to LIV Golf, it's been about a year and a half now, and they've almost all cycled out. And the way he explained it, their field has been decimated by this anyway, and there probably is no going back anyway when it comes to the World Ranking. His idea, and this has been brought up at least internally with LIV Golf, is that the 4 major championships, which is what this is kind of about, players trying to earn enough world ranking points to make sure they can get into the majors. If the major championships start looking at the LIV Golf Tour the way they maybe look at other tours, they allow maybe the top 5 players off their order of merit or their money list, that would open the door for it. But yeah, I think there's a little bit of surprise from that side when you look at the idea that the conversations are ongoing about what the future of golf is going to look like, and it doesn't seem like it's one ecosystem now.
Rex, there isn't any kind of conventional appeals process here. It's simply a case of you're denied, you can kind of tweak your format and then come back and submit another application which might be looked upon more favourably. But is this actually fixable for LIV, given that there does seem to be an issue with the team format coexisting side by side with the individual play and the very nature of LIV itself, which is designed to be this kind of closed, small ecosystem of elite players at the top of the game?
I think you mentioned the LIV event that was in Orlando a few months ago and the issues they're going to have with that. If you have a player whose team outcome is more on his mind than the individual outcome, it's going to corrupt whatever happens in the individual competition, and therefore it's going to corrupt whatever would possibly happen with the world ranking points. I think that's a problem. I don't think it's the problem. When you look at what Peter Dawson, and certainly what he told the Global Golf Post today, they can figure out a way, the world ranking can figure out a way mathematically to sort of filter some of these things out, to look into the idea that it's only 54 holes, that it's only 48-man fields. They can make the adjustments for that. The bigger issue is the quote-unquote closed shop. I think as of right now, you only have 4 players that are going to be able to play their way on to that circuit. And the way the teams are established, you have sort of the principal of each team. They're going to decide who they want to play with and who they have on their team. It's hard to come up with a scenario that you would have a quote-unquote full Q school like the PGA Tour has, where you would have that churn rate was a big deal on the PGA Tour over the last few months. We're talking about going into next year's schedule. You're never going to have that if each team is going to decide who their 4 players are. I think that's going to be the bigger issue long term.
And a lack of Monday qualifying as well. Rex, we appreciate the time. Look for your reporting on golfchannel.com.